Hey, true believers, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and of course, continuing on with the Marvel shows on Disney Plus that I'm reviewing, and also continuing on with the Halloweenish reviews on the weekends. Yes. Now, of course, when it comes to Marvel sometimes, well, sometimes they've celebrated the holidays, and some pieces of material they have, most prominently from the MCU, would be set around, say, Christmas or Halloween, just a couple. Marvel's had quite plenty of films and shows of theirs that have been set around Christmas, but sometimes a few that are set and very appropriate to come out around the Halloweenish season, Halloween, etc. And, well, this being a biggie that, of course, came out around October and such, and yeah, because this having to do with none other than it's all about witches and such. And not to mention, this is a follow-up to WandaVision. And in the WandaVision trilogy, this is the second installment of the WandaVision trilogy. And, because, ever since WandaVision kicked off, the MCU shows on Disney Plus, and one of the best things to come from WandaVision was Agatha Harkness herself, and it didn't take too long for us to get some more of Agatha Harkness herself, and Kathryn Hahn, whom plays the character herself. Yes, that's right, guys. I am now finally reviewing the spin-off show of WandaVision, centering none other than Agatha Harkness herself in Marvel Television's Agatha All Along. And wasn't it obvious that a show centering on Agatha Harkness would have that title? Duh, because, with that theme song and revealing to us in WandaVision that Agatha all along was the evil one, the main antagonist, doing all those horrible things that was happening from time to time all throughout the show of WandaVision. So, again, ever since WandaVision, which I've enjoyed, I'm sure the same goes for some of you, and, of course, I've done my review on it if you want to go check it out. And because Agatha Harkness was a great character, a nice addition, and, one of the next villains after, say, Thanos that we would see, and, with the lovely, talented Kathryn Hahn, she's good in anything she's in. To her be a part of the MCU and to play this character, it's amazing. Not to mention that Agatha All Along is the first piece of Marvel MCU material where it's turned into a show where it doesn't have its own comic book series. I mean, obviously, Agatha, she comes from the comics, but she never had any series of comics herself that center on her. But I think it's nice, a nice change of pace and something fresh and new, rightfully so, in the MCU. And because the tone and vibes of Agatha All Along in this, are pretty good. Not what I expected the first time I finally sat down and watched all 9 episodes, but of course it was still good. I enjoyed it, and I'm sure as most of you know, because the many MCU shows that I've been reviewing, and now up to this, because not once have I said really any, bad thing about them and such, because I've enjoyed them, even though some of them just, being a mixed bag still. I'm entitled to my opinion, and I'm sure the same goes for you, being on the same page as me, and I'm pretty sure, because Agatha All Along did get a little bit of criticism and such, but I don't think it was all that bad, because, I genuinely did enjoy Agatha All Along. I know, shout out to my mom, she had seen this, and she enjoyed the heck out of it. That is with the exception of, one of the episodes that had a lot of musical stuff to it, but didn't really bother me, honestly. In fact, now that I look back and thinking of it, because none of the episodes in Agatha All Along were a full-blown musical. Just, from here and there, we would get a few musical numbers. That's it. Just nothing else, Well, the main song that the main characters of the show constantly sing, but until I talk about it some more. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah. Again, I found myself enjoying Agatha All Along with what the entire show had to offer from beginning to end, with all the suspense, some new characters that step in, a few returning characters whom we first saw in Westview of WandaVision. They were all under Wanda's spell, and where Wanda was trying to live a happy life, but for everybody else, it was not good for them. Yeah, she did technically do a bad thing. To see some of them return, and most prominently Agatha, and technically Agatha at the start of the show still being under Wanda's spell, but that wouldn't last long. And the more we get of Westview, and again, just some new characters that step in, whom tag alongside with Agatha. They go on this journey, this witch road and all that, and some surprises here and there, a few cameos, and everything that just goes on in the show was pretty interesting. Yeah. And all the details and clues, and as the show proceeds, oh my gosh, this and that, just holy crap, that kind of stuff. Yeah, the MCU never disappoints at that, And I'm sure for a lot of us, we try our very best to follow all those specific details. Yeah, even say on account, even for me especially, when trying my best to talk about that stuff, on account of, reviewing the show. Anyways. And because the style and look to Agatha All Along, being all about witches, the visual effects, and the funny and emotional moments, the climax, the music and score, the selection of songs that are incorporated into Agatha All Along, most prominently during the end credits in a few episodes, everything from here and there, just, unexpected moments, insane moments, everything. Just everything that came straight from Agatha All Along was really good. Yeah. Okay, so, with the first things I've had to say about Agatha All Along now out of the way, now as always for me, read the description / the story. Set after the events of WandaVision, as we of course know, Agatha Harkness recruits some unlikely allies on her quest to regain her former powers and uncover the secrets of the Dark World. Okay, now with reading the description / the story / overview out of the way, let's now dive into the show itself, shall we? Here we go. Alright, so, of course, starting with episode 1. Description / the story. A murder shakes up the small town of Westview and turns the life of Inspector Agnes upside down. However, Agnes finds her life starting to fall apart when a strange boy asks for help. Okay. Now with reading the description / the story of episode 1, which, episode 1 being titled Seekest Thou the Road? Yeah, almost forgot to say the title, which, I always do. Anyways. Okay, now let's dive in / break down the episode itself. Yes, episode 1. Well, because, because, it's funny how, it's interesting because, and just how the first, how WandaVision started off, where, yes, just, you didn't really expect what was going to happen, because, we have Agnes O'Connor, whom is a detective and such, and her arriving to a scene of a crime, and of course, Catherine Hahn, of course, once again playing Agnes, but really her name being Agatha, and meeting up with her, crime partner, Herb, being played by David A. Payton, and there's a crime scene where there's a body out in the woods, and, at one point, Agnes finds one piece that presumably must have come from the body of this woman. Yeah, it's identified as a woman that, was out in the woods, and, when the body was discovered. And, she's trying to, find some evidence about this, piece that, she discovered, and even when, say, she turns over to someone from, say, Dottie, being played by Emma Caulfield Ford, or then say Norm being played by Afsi Ali, you know, them trying to identify this item that she's found and to find more evidence of this, and also on account of the identity of this woman. And an old partner of Agnes's that she's kind of not on good terms with, Rio Vidal, being played by the another lovely talent, Aubrey Palaz. Yeah, and it was great to see Aubrey Palaz be a part of the MCU, right? Because this is Aubrey Palaz we're talking about. She was a fine addition to this piece of MCU material. And yeah, just the chemistry between Catherine Hahn and Aubrey Plaza as their characters, oh, it's so good. And yeah, because to talk more about their characters, well, themselves, because yeah, just, you know, getting more of Catherine Hahn and where she really shines as her main character. She's the main star. The character is the main focus / center of this MCU show, and it's great to see. Yeah, Catherine Hahn be no disappointment whatsoever to reprise the role of Agatha Harkness in her very own show, and yeah, and also with the other cast members that are part of this, like, yeah. Again, there are a few that, as I said, did return from whom were in WandaVision and came back for this. Like most prominently, we have, say, David Lengel once again coming back, and, you know, his character named Jones, and Deborah Jo Rupp once again playing Mrs. Hart. Yeah, but until I talk about her momentarily. But yeah, just overall, because, you know, from, say, Catherine Hahn and Aubrey Plaza, you know, fantastic in this piece of MCU material, just need I go on. And I will continue saying that, and the more I talk about the rest of the cast members that are in this show. Oh, and by the way, because the name of the show that Agatha finds herself trapped in is called Agnes of Westview. Pretty clever. Anyways, so, to speed things up some, because, yeah, at one point, and in Agnes's house, and when she's paid a visit by Rio, and by the way, because almost forgot to mention, Rio is an ex-FBI agent and such, yeah. Because they do some talking and having to do with what Agnes has been trying to uncover because of the murdered victim, the body that was discovered in the woods, etc. But at one point, there was a noise coming from her upstairs floor where, yeah, someone broke in, came through the window trying to find something, and there's a chase and pursue. This boy, you know, teenager, wearing a mask and such, covering his face, and a hoodie, and yeah, trying to make a run from Agnes. Even when at one point, the boy gets hit by a car, which turns out to be Mrs. Hart. So yeah, so Agnes places the boy under arrest, takes him into you know, the police station for questioning, but she's not getting anything from him. And the more she tries to talk with him and starts to get very aggressive towards him, and then it would just start to get really weird, you know, and with what the teen finally says and all that, and even when Agnes, you know, she believes that this teen is involved with the case of the murdered female victim, and by showing him the pictures, but he says that all he's seeing in the pictures is someone's garden, beautiful flowers that were planted and all that. And the window, well, not a window, it's a mirror, yeah, but technically it's a window. You know, that whole thing where one side is a mirror, but the other side is a window? Yeah, that. Well, it's not there because there's a painting. Like, what the heck is going on? Well, clearly, this is the doing of Wanda's spell. Something is happening, and yeah, and messing up Agnes's mind, and where she would start to realize, and thanks to Rio, that she's not Agnes O'Connor, she's Agatha Harkness, and she's a witch. And yeah, with that, and the reveal that the murdered female victim, the body, turns out to be Wanda Maximoff. Yeah, we can see a strain of her ginger hair, and unfortunately, yeah, I'm sure as you guys probably know, but I'll still go ahead and say it. No cameo appearances of Elizabeth Olsen or Paul Bettany. However, through archive footage, just voices, we can hear their voices at times through the show, so only that. Oh well. It's fine. Anyways, so yeah, Rio revealing all to Agnes, whom, yeah, finding out that she's really Agatha, and phasing through different wardrobes that we had seen her wear in WandaVision, and up to when she finally realizes whom she truly is, and yeah, the spell would be broken. And apparently, Agnes was under Wanda's spell for 3 years, and when she snaps out of it, she finds herself back in her house, completely butt naked, even when she steps outside at one point, has an interaction with Herb, to get some details and information on what all has happened and all that. And, not to mention there's one quick shot where we do see Catherine Hahn's butt cheeks. So, anyways, I mean, it's true, but, I just still wanted to mention it. Anyways, and then Agatha would get a visit from Rio, whom turns out to be a witch herself, and even Agatha realizing that her powers have been completely drained from her, / taken away from her, and Rio has basically come to kill Agatha. However, Agatha, pleads Rio to spare her, and she wants to get her powers back, but Rio, whom does so, well, she does warn Agatha / giving her a heads up that the Salem 7 will be coming to get her. And the Salem 7, yeah, it clearly does not sound good, and it won't be until we get up to, say, the next 1 or 2 episodes, and when we see them physically. And also, the teen boy that, when Agatha was going by Agnes, that she arrested, well, he is there in her closet, being tied up and with duct tape to his mouth, and that's literally whom he's called almost throughout the show. Yeah, being called Teen, and Teen being played by Joe Locke, if I even said his last name right, but again, you know me sometimes. Yeah. And something about Teen that, what's his connection with Agatha? And what was he specifically doing when he broke in upstairs in her room? Well, we are, of course, about to find out as the show proceeds still. Yeah. But yeah, just, overall, episode 1... the start of Agatha All Along. Seekest thou the road. It was a good start. Yeah, this was a pretty interesting episode, and yeah, just like what we saw in WandaVision, we get another taste of these characters trapped in another spell of Wanda's in Westview, but yeah, it doesn't take too long for the spell to break, and especially on account for Agatha. Yeah. And all that happens in this episode, and with what we're to expect by the next episode and from there on, oh yeah, that was great. Okay, now with episode 1 out of the way, let us now dive into episode 2, which being Circle 7 with Fate / Unlock the Hidden Gate. Description / the story. As old enemies pursue them, Agatha and Teen gather a desperate coven of witches to walk the witches' road to get what they need. Okay, so, episode 2. Well, basically, we would find out, and straight from Teen, because being called Teen, he has basically freed Agatha from that 3-year curse / spell that Agatha was still in, straight from Wanda. And, well, Teen is in search of trying to get to the Witch Road. And basically, any witch that passes any trial, and, this has to do with the Witch Road, they will be rewarded with what they most desire. And, well, in the case of Agatha, she desires to have her powers back, so, yeah. And also, when Agatha when he asks whom the teen boy's name is, well, there's a spell / curse that's covering his mouth, we don't know his name at first. There's some spell and curse that's covering his mouth with, writing, just, very interesting. Well, it just makes you wonder, I'm, guessing that his actual name will be very surprising and such. Because obviously we're bound to know whom it is. later on in the show. Anyways, so, in order to get into the Witch's Road and so on, well, having to assemble some group of witches, a coven and such, and basically, they find 3 witches that will work very good to do this. We have Jennifer Kale being played by Sashir Samada. I think, yeah, I got her full name right. We also have Lila Calderu being played by Patty Lupone, and Alice Wu Gulliver, I think I said that right, yeah, being played by Ali Ann. Yep, so they're brought together, and, you know, it's always great to see, and I know I've probably talked about this before, in no matter what in the MCU, to know each of these characters, their personalities, what they're like, never disappoints. And in the case of Agatha all along, these group of characters whom tag along and join alongside with Agatha and Teen, well, there are some really great batch of characters. Yeah. I don't know if I want to really choose favorites, but genuinely, I'm honestly leaning to consider Alice being one of my favorites. I'm just saying, you know, no, they're all great characters, but I'm just genuinely saying, okay? Anyways, so yeah, they're regrouped, and, well, there's one more that they need to have, a green witch. And that means that Agatha would have to bring in Rio, but she doesn't want to. And did I forget to mention that they have a very interesting history together? And it is technically brought up that they were once a couple, okay? So that makes, that does make Agatha and as well Rio, like lesbians or something, you know, bisexual, whatever, just, you know, whatever the case is. I'm just saying. Anyways, so instead of regrouping Rio, bringing her in the picture to be a part of this coven, well, instead, Agatha invites/brings in Mrs. Hart. Yeah. Poor Mrs. Hart with what she's going to get herself into. Yeah. And she's definitely not the perfect choice for this. Yeah. So with all of them getting together, getting in a circle together, down in Agatha's basement, in order to open what will lead them to the Witch's Road, and all of them holding hands and by singing a song that, yeah, apparently all witches have sung before, and the more details and such we get as the show proceeds about this. And that being the Ballad of the Witch's Road. Yeah, so this is one of these songs that we get in this, and, you know, because I didn't think the Ballad of the Witch's Road was a bad song. I quite liked it. Nice harmony and with the lyrics and such, and I presume that it's the actresses themselves, and most prominently Kathryn Hahn, whom are singing the song. Pretty good. Yeah, meanwhile, Teen, because, you know, he can't participate, because he's not a witch, of course. Well, there is one moment where Teen, he does notice, and at one point, we do see them, the Salem 7. They are here and present, and they are approaching Agatha's house. Yeah, and Teen trying to, at one point, why couldn't he close the door? Because instead, he pulls in a couch, blocking the door entrance. Again, couldn't he have not closed the door, then put the couch? I don't know, I guess that's just him, just, you know, everything was happening too fast, but I'm just saying, was it that difficult to close the door and then pull in the couch? Simple as that, but yeah, don't want to dwell on it. Just one of those things. Anyways, well then eventually, because yeah, by the time they finish the song, I mean, nothing really has happened. But what does happen, and Agatha gets all of them pissed off, you know, calling them failures and all that, to really get them angry and to unleash the powers that they have now and all that. But, yeah, it's cut short when, yeah, of course, Teen comes downstairs and the Salem 7 are present, and also, not to mention, by this point, the door opened where they can now go to the Witch's Road. So, all of them make a run for it downstairs, and just in the nick of time, they manage to avoid the Salem 7. Well, yeah, for now, because the Salem 7 will be following. And, yeah, they would then find themselves, after going down like a slide, they would find themselves in an entirely different place, which of course being the Witch's Road. And they basically have to go barefoot, because that's what's required. Yeah, so they go barefoot, they have to take off their shoes, and yeah, proceed on with their journey. The start of them going on this journey through the Witch's Road. Yep. The coven to walk the Witch's Road and all that, just, yeah. Yeah, because that's really cool. And boy, because are we in for a treat with what all the Witch's Road has to offer for these next batch of episodes, you know? Up to say, yeah, from episode 3 to 8. Yeah, basically. Anyways, but yeah, just, you know, overall, episode 2 of Agatha All Along, being titled "Circle Suin with Fate / Unlock the Hidden Gate." Yeah, that was another pretty good episode, and yeah, that being the start where we get more group of witches who join alongside with Agatha, and by, you know, doing the coven and opening the way to the Witch's Road and all that, and we get a glimpse of the Witch's Road, and they just now begun their journey through the Witch's Road. Yeah, that's amazing. And with what else goes on in the episode, getting to know the characters some, not to mention a few things that very suspiciously happen, most prominently with Layla, you know, I think, yeah, I missaid her name, because Lila, yeah. There are a few things that happened to her that, what happened here and such, because there was a moment where she was freaking out and such, but we will find out as the show proceeds. Yeah, we're bound to get more details / information. Yeah, and the first appearance of the Salem 7 was pretty awesome, how scary and creepy they are by their presence. And the song that we get, the Ballad of the Witch's Road, was really good. Yeah, just everything about episode 2 of Agatha All Along. Circle Suin with Fate / Unlock the Hidden Gate. That was another pretty good episode. That being episode 2 of Agatha All Along. Alright, now, moving on to episode 3, which being titled Through Many Miles / of Tricks and Trials. Description / the story. The coven set off on the Witch's Road, and the route's many perils are quickly revealed, including the first trial. Okay, so with what all happens in episode 3? Well, Agatha at one point mentions to the fellow covens that in order to get to the end of the Witch's Road, they have to go through various trials, all of them, different trials that have to do with witchcraft and such. And, well, even say Alice, Lila, and Jennifer, yeah. They discover that with Teen, you know, trying to say his actual name because it's being blocked and such, well, it turns out to be a sigil. Yeah. And basically, the sigil is something that basically causes and prevent any witches to know his true identity. But yeah, so whatever this teen boy's true identity is, yeah, it's probably going to be something very surprising to hear, as the MCU mostly does. Most of the time, because they always are so good at delivering us some amazing surprises, no matter what. Anyways, so one of the first trials that they find themselves approaching to is a coastal house. I think I said that right. And, well, once they step foot in this coastal house, well, they find themselves in this getup that goes along with the house. And at one point, they find themselves with a bottle of wine. They each take a glass, with the exception of Teen, because, you know, with him not participating really, and, yeah, he won't drink wine. Yeah. And, even, like, say, one of them notices a timer that starts. And after they each drank the wine, yeah, again, with the exception of Teen, but also Agatha, she doesn't participate in drinking the wine at first. But after the others drank the wine, well, apparently it turns out that wine was poison, especially affecting, Mrs. Hart, yeah. And by the way, Mrs. Hart goes by a different name. I'll remember to put her other name in a text, because that's what she most prominently wants to be called and such. Yeah, but right there. Anyways, so, yeah, because the poison has taken an effect, and most prominently on poor Mrs. Hart, well, because, yeah, that's when they start to scramble and to come up with a formula, an antidote and such, to cure them and all that, you know, because on account of the poison affecting them. And even, like, say, a moment where Jennifer privately mentions to Teen not to really trust Agatha, because apparently it's revealed by Jennifer that Agatha gave up her child for the Darkhold. Yeah, and the Darkhold, basically, what the Darkhold is, and while on that subject, the Darkhold, what it is, the Darkhold, basically, the Darkhold, is, yeah, I got it right here, because, yeah, it is also known as the Book of Sins, and the Book of Spells, or the Book of the Damned. Yeah, most prominently, they at times say the Book of the Damned, yeah. And was the Book of Spells, containing transcribed dark magic based on ancient engravings carved by Sithone. I think, yeah, I said that right, yeah. Anyways. But, while they are, after that, and with the mentioning of the Darkhold, well, with them proceeding to find some specific ingredients to make this antidote, each of the covens, the witches, I should say, they start to hallucinate. And even there was one moment where Lila, while she was with Agatha, mentioning about, we gotta protect Agatha. Like, what's that about? Well, I'm assuming that we're gonna find out a little later, but yeah. But, yeah, with them hallucinating, and they start to visually see some very strange things that go on while still in the house, and while they're trying to find the specific ingredients to make this antidote. Like Jennifer, for example, she has an encounter with her doctor, whom apparently we see her doctor, being played by Scott Butler, drowning her by a pool of water in a sink. And Lila at one point sees a younger version of herself, being played by Chloe Camp, and she sees her maestra, if I said that right, you know what it is, yeah. And Lila's maestra being played by Laura Bosalati, if I did get that right, but again, you know me sometimes. And, oh yeah, just so you know, and I'm sure you know by now, we're going to see more of what comes straight from Lila. And, for Alice, she has an encounter with her late mother, Lorna Wu, being played by Elizabeth Enwis. Apparently, what happened to Alice's mother, she apparently committed suicide, and even, like, yeah, saying to her daughter that she can't protect her and all that. So, crazy things going on from each of them, the crazy hallucinations they're having, but thankfully they managed to snap out of it. And then eventually, when they got all the ingredients they need, thus they proceed with the antidote they'd make. However, eventually, Agatha, she would drink the wine, because, yeah, she was told that she has to. And because she did so, and by the way, because, can't forget to mention this, because after they drank the wine, all of them, this all happened to them, their faces started to be puffy, swollen, and such. And of course, the same thing would happen to Agatha, but it wouldn't take too long for their faces to unswell and so on. Yeah, but that was pretty funny. I'm just saying, because, you know, any serious moments and anything Marvel, sometimes they can be humorous. In the case of that, you know what I'm saying. Just, yeah, and you know, we've seen plenty of that stuff. Anyways, and yeah, obviously it's going to happen to Agatha, her hallucinating like the others. And when it does so to her, she becomes affected with some hallucination, these illusions and such. Well, what she sees, we first hear a baby cry. She goes to a baby crib, and she sees, not a baby, the Darkhold, the Book of the Damned. And yeah, this upsets her, but thankfully the hallucination snaps out of it, like, yeah, it's done, and yeah, back to reality, and thus they can proceed with making the antidote. However, there is a moment where they then see outside of the house, it's now underwater. And a little earlier, Agatha tried to break down the windows, smashing and trying to break the windows, but only there was a crack and, yeah. Well, on account of the crack, water starts to come through the hole, because, yeah, again, they're underwater like ocean water, and they have limited time to finish the antidote, but thankfully they managed to do so. They all drink it, and Mrs. Hart, who is still unconscious on account of the poison, well, they pour it in her mouth as well. And then the water starts to come in. However, they would then notice a tunnel straight from an oven, and yeah, each of them going through the oven one by one, and yeah, thus they make it out of there. However, once they've made it out of that first trial, they're back on the Witch's Road. Well, there's one person that sadly did not make it, and that's Mrs. Hart. Yep, she has sadly died. Yeah. And, you know, from the beginning, you know, it was Agatha, you know, made the poor choice of selecting her when she should have gone with Rio, because, yeah. Anyways, but, yeah, it's a shame, and how the episode ends off where, yeah, you know, Mrs. Hart sadly dies, and, yep, that's the end of Mrs. Hart. That's the end of her altogether. It's a shame, you know, a harmless lady to be, you know, brought into this and such, but, yeah, that's how it is in the show. But, yeah, you know, just overall, episode 3, it was another really good episode. Episode 3, through many miles of tricks and trials. Yeah, everything that goes on, where we get, you know, some more of the Witch's Road, the first trial that they come to, the coastal house that they're in, and when they drink the wine, the poison, the hallucinations that they have, our first glimpse at a few characters that we're going to see in the next few episodes, and them, you know, succeeding, passing that first trial, and with the unfortunate loss of Mrs. Hart, yeah. But overall, yeah, episode 3, through many miles, slash of tricks and trials, another good one. Okay, now we come to episode 4, which being titled, If You Can't Reach You, Let My Song Teach You. Yep. Okay, description slash the story. The Coven face their second trial on the Witch's Road, as they encounter a house from Alice's past. After the teen meddles, in magic beyond his abilities, the witches have to work together to banish the past for good. Okay, so, with what goes on in the 4th episode? Well, after they bury Mrs. Hart, the Coven is forced to summon a new Green Witch, which finally is Rio. Despite Agatha's annoyance, yeah, there's no other choice. They have to this time they really have to have Rio by her side, and, you know, them speaking in Latin, you know, and that's the thing, because, you know, with the spells they each say, the characters, it's in Latin and such, and yeah. So, with them summoning a new Green Witch, yeah, Rio literally comes out of the ground, straight from, you know, where Mrs. Hart was buried and all that, and now Rio is a part of the Coven officially. And the second challenge, well, trial, I should say, it's trial, that they find themselves at, well, is another house that has a 70s authentic to it. Yeah, all 70s getup and such, and then being in 70s getup, which comes straight from Alice, because, yeah, they find themselves inside of a recording studio, most prominently, and that's linked with her late mother, because, yeah, Alice's late mother was a musician. Not to mention that there has been a curse on Alice's family for generations. Not to mention, a tattoo is noticed on Alice, and having to have it on account of the curse and all that. And, yeah, it's really cool. And, you know, it never fails when sometimes the MCU, they do stuff, you know, from different eras, and, yeah, like, you know, whether if it's, say, the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you know what I'm saying, yeah, they're really good at it. So, yeah, so with them roaming around the studio some, and there's a moment between Rio and Agatha where, maybe they should go back to the good old days or something. And even Rio mentioning to Agatha that they should betray the fellow covens. However, the other covens, they overhear what Rio is saying, because in a recording booth, because where the electronics are, the microphone is, Agatha turned on the microphone for everyone to hear what Rio was saying. So, them being disappointed with what Rio is saying, but that's interrupted when at one point Teen accidentally played a record. He thought it was a clue, because the album said, "Play me." So, he was just genuinely curious, nothing intentional from him. And it turns out that record is playing backwards, and this is troublesome, because, it would summon the demon that is linked with the curse in Alice's family. Not to mention, a few of them get burned, and it leaves some burn marks on their shoulders. And in order to take down the demon, they have to play Alice's own version of the ballad, which that's what they do so. Each of them getting on instruments. Teen, he can play a little bit of guitar, but he seems to get the hang of it, and once they start to play, and in the end, them playing a rock version, Alice's own version of the ballad, seemed to work by defeating that demon. And the demon, the body performance of the demon, and, practical makeup was played by Jane Kwan. Yeah, I said that right. So, and the demon, the presence of the demon, scary, of course. Yeah, because with blood and wings and a bit of flames, really awesome and terrifying all at the same time. And by the way, Alice's rock version of the ballad was basically a spell to, as a protection spell, basically. Yeah, but overall, they managed to, defeat the demon and such. However, after they completed the second trial, they escaped the house. Well, it would leave Teen severe, very wounded and such, right here. And Jennifer, she manages to help cure and heal up Teen, but he's gonna need some rest for a while, and a moment where all of them, they start to bond, they have a campfire set up, and even Rio starts to allude Agatha's past linked with her and such, and then when Agatha, is right beside Teen, just watching over him, and he would regain consciousness, one point, Teen would ask about what really happened to her son, Agatha's son, but she refuses to answer for now. And there would be a moment between Agatha and Rio, and Agatha was this close to, she tried to kiss Rio, but then Rio would tell Agatha that, because Agatha believes that Teen, but no, Rio confirming to Agatha that Teen is not her son. So, and that's how the episode ends. But, overall, episode 4, If I Can't Reach You, Let My Song Teach You. That was another good one. Did I say it? I meant I, but anyways. So again, if I can't reach you, let my song teach you, episode 4, that was another good episode. And where this time and on the second trial, it's 70s authentic, and where, Alice is she is technically one of the main focuses, and the more we get of her, this second trial being heavily centered on her because of the recording studio, her mother, all that, the demon that is summoned, and a rock version of the ballad that's a surviving spell and all that. That was really awesome. Just everything that episode 4 had to offer. If I Can't Reach You, Let My Song Teach You. That was another good one. All right. Next, episode 5, titled Darkest Hour / Wake Thy Power. Description / the story. While enemies closing in, Agatha and the Coven flee under the light of a blood moon to the next ghastly trial. Oh boy. Alright, so what goes on in episode 5? Well, the Salem 7, they've arrived further into the Witch's Road, and at one point there's an ambush. Basically. and where they try to attack the Coven and Teen, but they manage to escape them by making makeshift broomsticks, taking branches and sticks and all that, and by, saying some spells in order to make them fly, they do so. And that was a pretty cool moment where, because this has to do with witches, we're bound to get something that has to do with witches flying, of course, and we do get that. And they have a nice moment for a few minutes, being up in the air and nice view from up above, and on account of the red blood moon, because, we can clearly see that the moon is red blood and such. However, the witch's road starts to pull them back down, because they're really not supposed to be up in the air that high. So, they gotta be very close to where the road is. Then eventually, they would find themselves at the third trial. The third house that they would go inside has an 80s authentic to it. And one of the most prominent things that they do is use a Ouija board. Really stay away from those. But, anyways, so the Ouija board that they're using, because, by wondering, whom they're in the presence of and such. And, and because of what's going on with the third trial, what they need to specifically do, and by using the Ouija board, because with them holding down the triangle piece, it guiding them to what the letters are, and it turns out that they are in the presence of Agatha's late mother, Evanora. And Evanora Harkness being played by Kate Forbes, Forbes. I think that's the correct way of saying it, And by the way, because with the recaps we get in this, because we see, like we had seen before in, say, WandaVision and such, where, in 1693, Evanora and the other, basically mothers of the seven, they basically tried to execute Agatha, but they unfortunately weren't able to, as Agatha basically managed to gain the powers, and by killing all of them, including her own mother. So Evanora being present, and warning the Coven to leave Agatha behind altogether. And Agatha, she would then possess her own daughter, and definitely this was a Exorcist reference. Wouldn't you say so? Because on account of the makeup that's applied on Catherine Hahn, not to mention she's walking upside down, just like how, what's in the movie with the famous upside down, where she's possessed and walking down upside down on the stairs. That. Totally an Exorcist reference. And, they try to save Agatha, especially at one point when Alice, she takes it upon herself to use her witch powers to pull Evanora out of there. But this gives Agatha the chance to gain Alice's powers, and that's what she does. Didn't really care for Alice saving her. Just getting her powers, which would lead to Alice dying. And they're all upset by what Agatha has done, and just, so a heartbreaking moment right here, because, and Alice, a really good character right here, and all of them being upset over the loss of Alice, and Agatha, her, going on saying that she didn't mean to and all that, and on account that she was possessed by her mother, but things would get more out of hand, and on account that Evanora tries to possess Agatha once again, and there's another spirit that's present, and Teen looking at the Ouija board on whom else is present. And, by spelling out the letters, that's when it's revealed that the spirit of Agatha's son, Nicholas, is present to stop his mother from what the hell is happening, pretty much. But then, in the end, the third trial is complete, and also on account that what Agatha did, the goal that she's going for, the same goes for, now Jennifer and Lila, so, Lila, sorry. I know I'm mispronouncing her name, but you know who it is, of course, but and then Agatha then insults Teen, and by saying that, she's just like his mother, and this pisses him off, and he mind controls both Jennifer and Lilia. Yeah, Lilia. I have trouble saying that name. Yeah, Lilia. He puts he puts them under mind control, grabbing Agatha and tossing her in a mud trap. And he would do the same to them. And then it would reveal that he has a headpiece, and it indicates that this might be the son of Wanda Maximoff. Yeah, one of her two sons. But yeah, the episode ends off with that, and obviously we're bound to get more details / information about Teen by the next episode. But yeah, just overall, episode 5, it was another good one. Yep, episode 5, Darkest Hour / Wake Thy Power. Everything that goes on in this, the third trial that they do, and yeah, having an 80s authentic to it, an unfortunate loss, which of course being Alice, the second loss we have in the show. Them using the Ouija board, the summoning of Agatha's mother, then the spirit of Agatha's son coming in to stop his mother from what she's doing, and yeah, things technically going downhill for now, but yeah, with what we are to expect by the next episode, oh yeah, awesome. But yeah, just overall, again, episode 5, Darkest Hour / Wake Thy Power, another good one. Alrighty, next is, well, episode 6, which being titled, Familiar by Thy Side, Description / the Story. Familiar Teen is indeed something more than he seems. His connections to the Coven, as well as his true desire from the Witch's Road, are revealed, and there is no going back. No siree. Okay, so, in episode 6, this is where we most prominently center on Teen. This is where we finally get so much more on Teen and whom he is. Yeah. His actual name, at first, being William Kaplan. Yeah. And he's from Eastview, and he's celebrating his bar mitzvah, and something to do with Hebrew and such. Yeah. And yeah, after he does his thing and there's a party going on, and also, yeah, his parents, Rebecca Kaplan and Jeff Kaplan, Rebecca being played by Maria Dizia, and Jeff being played by Paul Addleston. Yeah, and it's nice to see that the Kaplan are a nice, happy family. Yep, good to see. So, yeah, during the aftermath, and party celebration, well, William has an encounter with a fortune teller, basically, and it turns out to be Lilia. Yeah, this is where we see Lilia, because, yeah, that's the thing, Lilia is, like, has done some fortune telling, and not to mention Alice. She was once a cop. And as for Jennifer, she's into products, like perfume and all that kind of, that kind of stuff. Anyways, so couldn't forget to mention that about what each of those 3 members of the Coven, what they've done. So, yeah. Anyways, so there's a moment between Lilia and William, and where, yeah, looking on William's palm, and she doesn't tell him about what she sees, but is very concerned, and turns out she's responsible for writing the sigil to block his name and all that when he says it, and as we saw earlier in the show. And after that, well, the party is cut short when there's an emergency alert on what's happening at Westview, the Hex. What Wanda did in WandaVision, the whole Hex thing, it's happening. We're technically getting a glimpse of it. Not to mention, on the radio, and as they're getting out of there, we can hear the voices of Vision and Wanda. Yeah, in the 60s and such, that. And with some audience laughter. Anyways, so because of that, well, they're a bit distracted, and, well, they almost collide with an incoming car, and, well, then it would lead to them crashing into a car. The parents are okay, that is with the exception of William, and because of this, out of nowhere, the spirit of Billy Maximoff possesses William. Now it's Billy Maximoff, no more William Kaplan. So, yeah, and one of the first things that Billy says when, yeah, he awakes is, "Tommy!" Yeah. And then we get a quick appearance of Alice, whom we see her in her days as a cop. And yeah, overall, yeah, William, now Billy, is gonna be alright. And, well, after that, 3 years passed after what all happened on that very day. Yeah, because, and just like, what we found out earlier, that it had been 3 years, with Agatha still being under that curse/spell, from Wanda. But with 3 years passing, and during that time, because Billy, whom has taken over the body of William, now it's all full-blown Billy, well, he had some trouble processing, with what he's doing now. Not to mention he can read minds. He was able to read the minds of the Kaplans with what they were saying. And by this point, Billy, having a boyfriend by the name of Eddie, being played by Miles Gutierrez Riley, well, they seem to have a pretty good relationship, and, even say Eddie was going to say "I love you" to Billy. And Billy would then share some information/details to Eddie about what's been going on with him, and cracking down some clues and such on account of who he is and all that. And it would eventually lead to where they meet with someone at a parking garage that has some specific information that will help Billy further. And, yeah, I mean, we knew, say, from some of the trailers and such on whom we were going to be seeing somewhere in the show. And, yeah, Evan Peters returns, now going by his real name, Ralph Boner. Yeah, with an H in the middle. And yeah, as we remember in WandaVision, Ralph, who was under the spell of Wanda, he played the part of Wanda's brother. Yeah, Pedro. So we have him back, and man, Ralph went through so much shit after that, the Hex, and through those 3 years, and especially wearing a hat with a cross and, for protection, and, the information that Ralph would share to Billy, and when things do cooperate and such, yeah, because the mentionings of, say, Wanda's 2 kids, and of course with the mentioning of Vision, etc., Agatha Harkness, and, the names of Wanda and Vision's 2 boys being Billy and Tommy, and that's when Billy realizes that he is Billy. And to get more information and details, Billy would then venture in Westview, and that's where we would see Billy breaking into Detective Agnes's house and with what he was trying to find, and yeah, and of course that's when it would lead to Agnes trying to, place him under arrest, and well, through Billy's point of view, we don't see him at the police station, we see him in Agnes's house. And that's when, yeah, I instantly knew that, okay, yeah, so when she's going to show him the pictures, it's going to be pictures of a garden, beautiful planted flowers, and a painting on top of the fireplace. Yeah. And, well, Billy, like what we saw at the start of episode 1, when we first saw him speaking in Latin and breaking the curse, freeing Agnes, now back as Agatha, from what happened during those 3 years. So, yeah. So now we're caught up on the part of Billy and such, whom that teen is. First was William Kaplan, now Billy Maximoff, and, yeah, being responsible for breaking the curse that Agatha was on, and yeah, we're caught up on that. And then we would pick up where we come to next. So, back in present time, well, Agatha, she got out of that mud trap and would come face to face with, now we know whom as Billy, and the sigil by that point had been broken. So yeah, her realizing, whom he really is and all that, and, well, they have no other choice but to still continue on, even though, because Billy, by this point, doesn't trust Agatha still. There's no other alternatives, really. On the Witch's Road, they have to stick together to proceed on with the journey. And also on account that Billy can't be in full control of his powers yet. Yep, and that's all for episode 6. Yeah. Episode 6, Familiar by Thy Side. another good episode, and where, yeah, this time we get to really know whom Teen is. His actual name being William Kaplan, but on account of the hex happening, and there's an accident on the road, and, well, the spirit of Billy Maximoff would take possession of William, now going by Billy, and everything else that would happen up to 3 years later, more information that he would get, and with Evan Peters making an appearance, and, well, when we see Billy being in Westview, managing to break the spell/curse that Agatha's been on, and yeah, nice to see that we now know and we're caught up on whom Teen is. Now we know it's William, but now Billy Maximoff. Yeah, but just overall, Episode 6, Familiar by Thy Side, was another good one. Yeah, I don't know, because I'd say probably one of my top favorite episodes of the show. Not just this, there are like a few others that I think yeah, by the next episode was another one of my favorites, but yeah. Which, by the way, we're now about to get into. So, yep. Episode 7, which being titled Death's Hand in Mine. Description / the story. Those remaining suffer the hand they are dealt in the next trial, the 4th trial, where things are not looking up. So, where we last left off, Agatha and Billy, they have no choice but to, stick together and proceed on the Witch's Road. So, they proceed on, and the next trial that they would come to is this castle, and by entering the castle, the getup that they would find themselves wearing are, yeah, like, basically Halloweenish, like, costumes, basically, yeah. Agatha is dressed as the Wicked Witch of the West, and Billy dressed as Maleficent. It's on account that he was checking out himself in the mirror, and yeah, especially with Maleficent's headpiece going well with him on account of the cheekbones. Yeah, because we know, of course, that the specific cheekbones Maleficent has, like, rather the one that from Sleeping Beauty or Angelina Jolie's Maleficent. Yeah. And it's important, with those cheekbones. Anyways, yeah, and then they find themselves, and on account of the, 4th trial, that's right, 4th trial, this is the 4th trial now, well, they find themselves sitting down in these chairs with tarot cards, and if they do not place the tarot cards in the correct specific sequence, well, then disaster strikes. Swords coming down from the ceiling, and, yep, batshit crazy happening, pretty much. And in this episode, well, this is where Lilia gets her spotlight. We get a lot more of Lilia. This is where she shines in this episode. And not to mention, this 4th trial, yeah, is something that's right up her alley. Because, yeah. And this episode also explains that why a few times in the first episodes of the show, where Lilia had a couple of moments where, yeah, she said random things and a few crazy things happened, like, what's with Lilia? What is specifically happening? Obviously, we would find out later. Now we do. Basically, she's living her life completely out of order. And like whom we had seen, we saw this in the 3rd episode, we see it again, where we see a younger version of herself, we see young Lilia again, and we see Lilia's maestra, and even the maestra, getting a good idea of what's going on and / happening with Lilia, and because Lilia just going in and out, different parts of her life, and with this, well, she would start to realize and put the puzzle on what she needs to specifically do and all that. Like, when we would see her, in the tunnels after, the mud trap, and because her and Jennifer, they did survive that. And even say when they have a close encounter with the Salem 7, they avoid and hide from the incoming Salem 7, still on their tail. And even say when she would most prominently find herself in the castle, and the wardrobes we would see Lilia and Jennifer wear. In the case of Lilia, she's dressed as Glinda, the Witch of the North, and Jennifer, she's dressed as the old hag form of the Wicked Queen from Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, yeah. Yeah, and of course it makes sense, since, yeah, not only is the Wicked Witch of the West a famous witch, from movies, but also the Wicked Queen in her old hag form, technically being a witch, so yeah. And yeah, especially Jennifer with that hair getup that she's wearing with the old hag costume, like, I'm just saying, because, yeah, have to have that, of course. And even say when Lilia, technically, she first encounters, seeing Billy in the castle, yeah, this is the first time for her that, yeah, they're in the castle for the fourth trial, her lashing out at Billy, but apparently, according to the others, they're on good terms, and that's when Lilia would discover that, yeah, it's true, and yeah, everything's good with Billy and such. Nothing intentional from him whatsoever, yeah. And even when, say, Lilia would then further discover, like, to save Agatha, hence in the third episode, randomly shouting, "We gotta save Agatha," all that. Or stuff that, like, make it stop, as we saw in the second episode, that. And yeah, and whenever she would come back to, her days being younger during the Renaissance era with her maestra, yeah. Yeah, just, again, with the details and information that her maestra mentions to her, yeah, and what she would slowly realize, and when it would come to say, yeah, her realizing that, on the fourth trial, this is something that's perfect for her to do by placing those cards in the right place on the table, and yeah, thus the fourth trial would be complete. However, with the Salem 7 coming in, yeah, she ultimately makes the sacrifice, having them proceed on, and she will keep the Salem 7 distracted. Jennifer doesn't want to let go of Lilia whatsoever, but no, she insists that they proceed on without her, making the ultimate sacrifice. At one point, she flips one of the cards, making them flip, upside down and all that, and it would lead to them being impaled by the swords that were on top of the ceiling, because, yeah, again, with the whole thing, if they screw up the whole thing of the cards, they're not in the right order, then the swords would come down, or even say at one point, the whole room, the top of the ceiling would come down on them, very similar to, like, say, what's in the Temple of Doom with the spikes, that kind of thing. But, of course, in the end, it turns out fine. But, yeah, with, Lilia making the ultimate sacrifice, and by defeating the Salem 7 once and for all, and herself, her getting impaled as well by one of the swords, yep, she did a very heroic thing, yep, and that's the end of Lilia, pretty much, yep, made the ultimate sacrifice. And she would find herself, back in the Renaissance era, I presume, yeah, reliving her life again, now back with her maestra and with what she's about to do. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, before I finish up episode 7, the Salem 7 cast members, those that played the 7 members of the Salem 7, yeah, and get ready, because I'm probably going to butcher their names, because we have Marina Mazepa, we have Britta Grant, Elisa Vela Bailey, Athena Parampol, Bethany Michelle Curry, yeah, I got that right, Chow Numova, and Akupasali. Yeah, I did my best, but yeah, I warned you, but anyways, we've all been there. But yeah, so just wanted to mention whom are the body performances of the Salem 7, because in the practical makeup and that clothing, that getup and such, yeah, they did very well, bringing to life the creepiness and such of the Salem 7, yeah. And speaking of which, with 7, yes, to round things off, episode 7, again, being titled Death's Hand in Mine, it was another good one. Probably another one of my favorite episodes of Agatha all along, just saying, because, yeah, with what episode 7 had to offer with its storyline, it primarily focusing on Lilia. She gets to shine in her moment, and, with the whole thing that happens in the fourth trial, the castle, the cards, and when we find out that, yeah, Lilia's been going through different timelines and her life being really messed up and such, not in the right order, out of order, basically. just to correctly say that. And yeah, Lilia making the ultimate sacrifice, achieving what happens in the fourth trial, and seeing them in the costumes they're wearing in the castle on account of the fourth trial, the Salem 7 being defeated once and for all. Yeah. Just everything about the seventh episode of Agatha all along. Death's Hand in Mind. It was another good one. Definitely. Okay, so now that we finished with episode 7, next, well, there's only 2 more episodes left, literally. So we now come to the second to last episode. We're nearing where things get really intense and all that. So yeah, okay, again, episode 8, which being titled, Follow Me, My Friend, / To Glory at the End. Yeah, because there's a slash, because, don't want to leave off saying that. But anyways, even if it's necessary. Okay, description / the story. The remaining Coven members continue to the end of the road, the Witch's Road, basically, only to end up again at its beginning, quite literally. So, with what happens in the second to last episode, well, after the fourth trial, the sad loss of Lilia, well, all that's left really is Agatha, Billy, and Jennifer. And with and also Rio, because yeah, at one point she did ditch the Coven and such back in episode 5, at the end of episode 5 basically. And well, Rio would reappear, and basically Agatha would agree to hand over Billy to Rio, viewing Billy as an abomination for gaining a second life. And yeah, they come to terms, and well, Billy and Jennifer, they continue on alongside with Agatha to the end of the road, which turns out they're back where they started. The Witch's Road is a circle, so the beginning is also the end. And yeah, they find themselves back where they were, they find their shoes, they put them back on, and by doing so, well, they would find themselves in a different location, a different version of Agatha's basement with crow lights, and which slowly go out, because they come out of these, these cabinets or something, that, basically, like, they contain, they hold dead bodies and such, just, yeah. So then, what would happen next, and they're in this different version of Agatha's room, well, this is where Jennifer gets her spotlight, where Jennifer discovers that Agatha bound her, and her being upset by this, and then would perform the unbinding spell. And after that, well, good for Jennifer. She would regain her abilities, then she would disappear. And hopefully, as though, yeah, she is out of the others, she will be spared. So after that, now the attention is turned to Agatha and Billy, where Agatha would help Billy locate his brother Tommy, because that's what Billy had been trying to do all throughout this time, what he was wanting to do, his goal to find his brother. And yeah, with the help of Agatha, by locating someone else whom Tommy can possess, this one boy whom is, who was pushed in a pool and is gonna drown, and well, then it would lead to putting Tommy in that boy, and thus Tommy would live on and such. And because of this, Billy too would disappear. Yep, good for Billy. So he got what he wanted, and now Agatha's the only one left, and with what she's wanting to get at the end of the Witch's Road. And what would happen to Agatha next? Well, because there are a good chunk of times in the show where, yeah, because sometimes, it seems like a bit of goodness would come from Agatha where she breaks down and gets emotional. Yeah, she does so right here. And by growing a flower and taking a seed from a locket she had, and from there on. And, well, she would manage to get out of there, out of the basement and such. And as it starts to crumble, she's outside of her house in her backyard, and she would come face to face with Rio, whom, by the way, in the last episode, Lilia discovered that Rio is also death. Yeah, not only is she a witch, she's also death. And, well, confrontation between Rio and Agatha, and, well, unfortunately, Agatha doesn't stand a chance between Rio, because, well, again, Agatha's powerless, and man, because breaking pieces of a window and having it be thrown right in Agatha, leaving her bleeded and so on, ugh. But luckily, Billy steps in, now having his powers and wearing his own costume, yep, and with that headpiece he's wearing, stepping in to help Billy. Billy helping Agatha. I gotta slow down. And because of this, well, somehow, yeah, and with the help of Billy, by giving his powers, some of his powers and abilities to Agatha, which we get her powers again, purple and all that, in her iconic getup, just, yeah, her own villainous getup that she's in, and, yeah, then she would take on Rio, and, she at one point was going, as she agreed with Rio, giving up Billy for Rio, but Billy manages to convince Agatha that she should give herself up to Rio, which she does so, even by reading each of their minds and all that, and yeah. So, that's what Agatha does. A bit of goodness comes into her where she makes the ultimate sacrifice, and I guess this is technically what everybody was waiting for, right? Seeing Catherine Hahn and Aubrey Plaza smooching? Yeah. Anyways, because yeah, the kiss of death, I guess you could say. That's what happens. So we have that, and, well, as expected, Agatha sacrifices herself, and she would die. Her body decomposing, and all that would be there is a bed of flowers and such. And the madness has come to an end in Westview, hopefully. And Rio still being present, and she lets go of Billy. He can go off and live his life and such. The neighbors, they're present, and yeah, witnessing what the heck just happened, we get quick appearances of Norm, Herb, and Jones, and, well, Billy, there's nothing left for him. All he does is get in his car and head back home, and we would once again see the Kaplans, they're glad to see that, their son is okay after having been gone for 24 hours. But yeah, and, well, I mean, we don't, there's really nothing that happens. I'm sure Billy did explain to them on what all happened, but, I guess it turned out fine, and they're not really mad at him or anything like that, because, yeah, we would then see him go in his room, and he would discover various objects in his room that gives him an indication that these items basically mirror what we had seen in the Witch's Road. The painting of the house, the first house from the first trial, the Wicked Witch of the West, all that, the shoes, everything. And Billy realizing that he must have, and he probably did, yeah, he made up the Witch's Road all by himself. He was responsible for bringing the Witch's Road to life, when that turned out to be a myth at first, but no. He made that happen in reality, and he blames himself for all of the deaths that occurred, the losses from the Coven, from Mrs. Hart to Alice to, Lilia, etc. Just, yeah. And the episode would end off where we hear an evil laugh, and judging by the way the laughter is, yeah, it's bound to be Agatha, which turns out to be Agatha. And yeah, Billy being startled, and boom, that's how the episode ends off. Ugh, and man, because when it seemed like things were looking pretty good, it seemed to end off on a pretty good note, the madness came to an end. Nope. There's still more to expect by the ninth and last episode of Agatha All Along. Yep. But yeah, but to round things off, episode 8, Follow Me, My Friend /2, Glory at the End. It was another excellent episode, the second to last episode of Agatha All Along. This episode, what it had to offer, getting up to the climax, only 3, technically 2, from the Coven were left, and eventually they did manage to survive. But with the exception of, say, Agatha, who makes the sacrifice by, not giving up Billy, but giving herself up. And the confrontation between her and Rio, the climax in that episode, Billy getting his superpowers, all that, and saving and finding Tommy's soul, and everything else that goes on, just, ugh. And how the episode ends off, holy cow, just, oh man. But yeah, overall, episode 8 of Agatha All Along, another excellent episode. Definitely. Okay, here we are, guys. The, 9th/last episode of Agatha All Along, which being titled Maiden Mother Crone, Description / The Story. The truth about Agatha Harkness and the Witch's Road is finally revealed. Okay, so what happens in episode 9? Well, this is where we get another series of flashbacks at the start of this episode, just like what happened with William to Billy and such, centering on Agatha, and where we do finally see Agatha's child, Nicholas. In 1750, Agatha gave birth to a son, Nicholas Scratch, and, Rio, aka Death, would pop in and warn Agatha that very soon, maybe in the next couple of years, Death will take Nicholas. And during 6 years, Agatha, while raising Nicholas, would bring in and lure witches, coven, to observe their magic and such, and by singing the ballad song, the Witch's Road. And, Nicholas a little older, being played by Abel Lysenko. I think, I said that right. Anyways, so during those 6 years and raising Nicholas, and getting Nicholas involved by singing the song at times, But then eventually, and up to 6 years, at one point, sadly, Nicholas would grow sick, and one evening, Nicholas would encounter Death luring him and taking him and such, which, by the next morning, Agatha would wake up to discover that Nicholas sadly died, and this does heartbreak Agatha, because, despite Agatha sometimes, most of the time, being cold-hearted and evil, she still has heart, and you can see and tell that she really loved and cared her son, her only son. Not to mention, if you know this by now, Nicholas is also the child of Rio, the love child, I think that's the correct way of saying it, of Agatha and Rio. Anyways, unfortunately, even after the passing of Nicholas, over the next centuries, Agatha would continue on to gain the powers and magic from other witches, the Coven, and also on account of the whole thing of the Witch's Road and such. And by singing the song, observing their assistants, and everything else, just, man. Because I think it's obvious that the death of her son really did it for her, because it changed her, and pretty much, because that was a lot of goodness, I guess you could say, from Agatha was in her on account of her son, but after the loss of her son, that all went away for poor Agatha Harkness and what she would become altogether later on. So, by coming back to present time, where we literally last left off in the second to last episode, where, Billy realizing that he was responsible for creating the Witch's Road and all that, and whom that laughter was, it turns out to be Agatha, whom is now a ghost. And, Agatha makes it clear to Billy that, he did in fact create the Witch's Road, and by blaming himself and all that, but Agatha assuring him that, he should not blame himself, and that, and even with Billy blaming himself that he was responsible for the deaths of Mrs. Hart, Lilia, and Alice, sorry. But even Agatha clarifies to Billy that she would have killed them anyways. However, he did a few good things, most prominently saving Jennifer. And we would see Jennifer coming out of the ground back at Westview. Now she can go on her way, and with the powers that she has, flying off as the sun sets. Yeah. And, by the way, because Billy would find himself back at Agatha's house, and he's about to take down Agatha once and for all, reading out a spell, in Latin, and in order to defeat Agatha whatsoever and to punish her. But Agatha would assure Billy that she's terrified of being dead altogether so that, she wouldn't encounter Nicholas again. And that's when Billy, he would spare Agatha. And on account of that, but also, also, like, having Agatha be by his side as a guide. And also, this would lead to Billy officially closing the portal, the gate and such of the Witch's Road altogether, and the entire madness of what had been going on through the show, and on account of the Witch's Road, the gate and such, it all comes to an end. Yep, and now, Billy and Agatha, they're on good terms, and it seems that, technically, Agatha in some way has been redeemed. And with that, Agatha would officially become a guide for Billy, and what they would do next, their journey, is for Billy to find his lost brother Tommy by opening a new door. There's like a really bright glow, something good, obviously, and that's how the episode ends off, that, everything seems to be good now, and, a great new journey, a good journey this time for both Billy and Agatha. Good to see. Yeah. What a great way to end off the 9th and last episode of Agatha All Along, just all together, Episode 9, Maiden Mother Crone. It was another great episode, the season finale of Agatha All Along. Rounding things off, the more details we get, this time centering on Agatha, her early beginnings, her son Nicholas, and whom she would become, and up to the present where, thanks to Billy, everything seems to be good now. When Billy was attempting to take down Agatha once and for all, some redemption came into Agatha on account of the mentioning of her son, not getting to see him again / encounter him, all that. Billy closed the gate to the Witch's Road, everything. And seeing Jennifer having survived, despite the losses that happened in the show and those that did survive, hey, it all turned out good in the end. Overall, again, episode 9, the last episode of Agatha All Along, was excellent. In my opinion, Excelsior, and I'm sure you would feel the same way too. Oh, also very quickly, I want to quickly mention about the end credits. It was really cool, like, how the end credits were done, various, like, footage and, drawings and pictures, anything witch-related. Like, we get footage of the old hag from Snow White, we get a bit of Wizard of Oz, Alice's mother being in there somewhere, and Lisa Simpson dressed as a witch. That was pretty cool. And the songs that are in some of the episode's end credits, like, I can most prominently think of, say, Saving Time in a Bottle that we most prominently heard in X-Men Days of Future Past. That's twice that they used that song in something Marvel, and in the case of something MCU. But just overall, because the end credits, they were really cool, and, their style, and overall, the end credits were really, really cool and fun and enjoyable. But Agatha All Along, the show itself, altogether, I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure the same would go for some of you. Everything from beginning to end, with what all goes on in all 9 episodes, the storylines, with all the characters, and how the show, slowly but surely, would tell us and give us details on with what's going on with these characters, a few characters that we don't know that much of, and when it's like, say, revealed that Billy Maximoff is back, and what we know about the members of the Coven, and great performances from, you know, say, Catherine Hahn, Aubrey Plaza, Deborah Jo Rupp, Alianne, Sasher Zamata, Joe Loke, you know, everybody else that was involved in Agatha all along, the cast and crew, the music and score, really good visual effects, you know, the practical makeup, everything, the climax, the suspense, the action, the fighting sequences, the funny and emotional moments you don't expect, and, you know, you're mind blown and surprised, like, wow, just, man, now we know, there's all that. Yeah, and this piece of MCU material, Marvel Television, you know, being something fresh and really clever, centering on witches, and most prominently Agatha herself, Agatha Harkness, where we get to see more of Agatha Harkness shine, and yeah, it's great to see that in the end, some redemption came into Agatha, and a new journey awaits both Agatha and Billy. Yep, in search of Tommy. Anyways, but yeah, just overall, Agatha all along, the entire show itself, I really enjoyed it. It was excellent. And I'm giving Agatha all along, yeah, why not? Yeah. 9 out of 10 stars. Yes, 9 out of 10 stars for Agatha all along. And what about you guys? What did you think of the show itself, Agatha All Along, the miniseries, you know, straight from the MCU, Marvel Television on Disney+, yeah. Which were some of your favorite episodes? Favorite characters? Were you excited when it was announced that we were going to get more of Agatha Harkness? Did the show not disappoint you? Were there a few episodes where you're like, but, you know, I'm sure for a lot of you, you did enjoy it. And again, shout out to my mom. She definitely did, but besides, like, one of the episodes that had a lot of singing to it. But again, there's not a single episode that's a full-blown musical, okay? Just, you know, if anything, it's in the episode where, yeah, they're in the 80s authentic house, but anyways. Again, favorite characters, did you get some good laughs? Did you get teary-eyed? Were you mind-blown by what you didn't expect from the show as the show proceeded? Is it one of your top favorite MCU shows straight from Marvel Television, Disney+, just, yeah. And again, favorite episodes, favorite moments, just, you know, overall, what do you think of Agatha all along itself? If obviously, you watched it when it first premiered, and if, you know, you'd watch it sometimes around Halloween time, yeah. And with what all I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review? Leave comments, and give this review video a like, as always. And so, guys, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Marvel Television's Agatha All Along. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I will see you guys in the next video / review. And, well, there's one more Halloweenish material left for me to review on the weekends. Stay tuned later tonight, because me and one of my good friends, who's a frequent, you know, guest / review collabor, we will be reviewing something that has to do with the Griffins and Quahog, them doing something new around the Halloween season. I'm pretty sure you know exactly what it is that I'm talking about. Yeah, just again, stay tuned for that. Take care, and until I review what is next in the MCU, and still on Phase 5, what comes after Agatha All Along, I'm sure you know exactly what it is. Yeah. Peace out, and Avengers, assemble. Just had to end something off, you know, witch related. Well, witch cackle, best I can do.